Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 124 of the Wise Guys Sports Show here on the Wise Guys YouTube channel. It is also the Big Rican Baseball Show as the Wise Guys preview the 2025 MLB Postseason. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez. And without any further ado, I will bring in my co-host with the most, Mr. JC Blue Note, Jim Cornetti. And James, happy baseball playoffs, sir.
Happy playoffs, Michael. What a day. It's for as much crap as we give the sport, they got it right by having all the games start within about 10 minutes of each other because they all finished within maybe 20 minutes of each other.
Exactly. We had a lot of big finishes. We had a lot of disappointing finishes. And speaking of disappointment in baseball, of course, with a baseball show and Big Rican involved, and I don't mean to take a shot like that because I'm going to take a beating tonight. I know that. But as always, on the Big Rican Baseball Show, we have our boy Alex Ruiz from the Row 7 podcast in Chicago, Illinois. Alex, sir, you can put the Bears hat on, bro. You guys earned that one today.
Yeah, I mean, it was an ugly win, like bowling shoe ugly, but we'll take the dub.
By God, that man's got a family.
Shut up, Donnie. Anyway. So, gentlemen, it was the final day of the 2025 baseball season, something that ourselves and Mr. Rice previewed that felt like 10 minutes ago. But we came down to the wire in 3 different races. What a great final day. And Jim, you're right. Baseball does do it right with this, with every game starting at the same time on the final day. It's only been a few years since they started doing that. Rob Manfred finally had a good fucking idea, although I'm sure he didn't have it. But Jim, we got a lot to get. What?
The NBA started doing that in the last couple of years, hasn't they, on the last day?
It's possible. Yeah, but you don't see many races like this in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree, but it's it's smart because I know the NFL also does it where they don't have a Sunday night game and a Monday night game on the final week of the regular season. They've got some of the Saturday games or even a couple of Friday games we've actually had before when holidays have been involved. But yeah, it's good to be able to get everything with the regular season done and out the way. This way you're not scoreboard watching because some of these teams got to hop a flight to be able to get to their opening playoff destinations within 36 hours.
Yeah, because postseason starts on Tuesday, boys. Game 1 of all 4 wildcard series will start 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And Jim, what do you say we get to the final day and what the matchups are? Because it's time for you to take a couple of lumps today, sir.
It's the 3 biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
So the final day came to an end, a couple hours ago, 5:30, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. It's just doesn't feel like that because you figure the one game that the entire postseason was waiting for to be decided was had to be the one game that goes into extra innings.
Yeah, of course, and we'll get into that one. Actually, we'll cover that one last in this segment. So now the field is set. In the American League, the two buys are the number one overall seed, American League East champion Toronto Blue Jays. The two seed that for the first time in 24 years, the American League West champion Seattle Mariners. The early game on Tuesday is a rematch of this. We will get into this game last, but for as far as the schedule goes, the first game of the day will be at 1:08 p.m. in Cleveland, as the Detroit Tigers will play the Cleveland Guardians in Game 1. The third game of the day will be the renewal of the greatest rivalry in baseball. The New York Yankees will host the Boston Red Sox on Tuesday night. In the National League, the Milwaukee Brewers, after trading Devin Williams, end up with the number one overall seed. They will have the bye in this series. Philadelphia, for the second year in a row, is the 2 seed, and will also have the bye. The final game on Tuesday night will be the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Cincinnati Reds. And the middle game will be the Chicago Cubs hosting the San Diego Padres at Wrigley. So postseason baseball in Chicago, Alex, very nice. So here's what it came down to today. The American League East came down to Toronto on the tiebreaker, so all they had to do was win. And it didn't matter what the Yankees did. Same thing went for the American League Central. The West was decided, a week ago?
Yeah, I want to say it was like back on Monday or Tuesday.
Of course, Milwaukee, who had let me go to the wild card team. Cincinnati, all they had to do was win today, and it wouldn't have mattered. And they did not, but it also didn't matter. Padres had clinched a few days ago, and the Cubs have been in for like 2 weeks. I mean, it's insanity. The Phillies were the first team to clinch a division title. So a lot of it came down to today. A lot of it did not. And let's talk about the stuff that came down to today first. Guys, Toronto went out and hammered whoever they played. What was it, 13-4?
Tampa Bay, yeah, 13-4.
Alejandro Kirk hits a grand slam early, and they were off and running. North of the border, the Yankees, did they end up beating Baltimore, Jim?
Yes, they did.
Well, the Yankees, of course, did not have the tiebreaker. They end up getting the 3 seed. Sorry.
No, the Yankees are the 4.
Who's the 3?
Cleveland.
Oh, the Cards. Sorry, that's right. I keep forgetting it's not straight seeding. It's the division winners. So the Yankees get the 4 seed and host Boston. Do we know what the season series was with the Yankees and Red Sox this year, James?
I will pull that up here now as you guys are talking. Go ahead.
So, Alex, just in the American League, and let's leave the biggest story in the American League for just a minute from now. Let's talk about that team that's not there, and that is the Houston Astros. For the first time in 10 years, the Houston Astros are not in the postseason. Yes, sir.
Boston won the regular season series 9-4.
Wow.
Ooh. Please tell me Garrett Crochet's going in Game 1 because the Yankees are fucked if he is.
He's probably going to go in game 1. Yeah.
Oh, thank God. So Alex,
they haven't announced it yet, but more than likely he will.
I would think so. So Alex, I want to start with you, and let's talk about that Yankees Red Sox series. Are you surprised the Yankees didn't win the division, or you kind of thought they were going to end up as a wild card this year to begin with?
I think if I remember correctly, I picked them to win the division just because of the team that they had. I think the dark horse in that, I did not see Toronto kind of running away with that in a sense, but they were able to maintain the past couple months, and somewhat in a sense shock the world because I know their lineup is pretty stout. Their pitching I wasn't entirely convinced of, but I guess smacking the ball around the yard did it for them.
Oh, absolutely. The Toronto offense is scary good.
It is.
Scary good. Is this the latest that we have seen a 1 seed clinched in the American League? Because it seems like to me somebody has run away with the division and had a phenomenal record over the last couple of years.
I believe it might be. Just because of everything, because we knew whoever was going to win was going to get the 1, and then the loser was going to end up dropping to the 4. But yeah, you're right. It's we're going to talk about some collapses here, in the second segment. I wouldn't necessarily call, Toronto coming back down to earth a little bit over the course of the last 2 weeks, and then the Yankees kind of, keeping their momentum to tie. And basically, this is where, baseball is smart by not doing this one game playoff stuff anymore, and then, expanding the tiebreaker rule so we don't have that one extra game to throw everything off. Um, but yeah, I believe this might be the latest we've seen a number one clinch in the season. Because I mean, remember, by the time that was decided, because the Yankees with their win still had to wait on Toronto, so Toronto's game was still going, and they hadn't finished until about a good 30 to 45 minutes later, even though they were already out in front 9 runs in the 8th inning at that point. So it hadn't officially been decided, but mathematically, it basically at that point was. And then the only games that were left on the docket was the Cleveland game, and there was one other game going on. It might have been the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, Pittsburgh was the second latest to end, of course. But then again, that game did not have any postseason implications. But let's wrap up the American League and let's talk about that other series, and that is the team that my co-host gave up on a shade over 2 months ago, who right here on these airwaves in our all-star preview and mid-season show told me that the only thing going on in the month of October was going to be the Browns. And they're not even really going on either.
And I, like everybody else in Cleveland and America, had thrown dirt on the Cleveland Guardians.
No, dude, I told you they were in it. I looked you dead ass in the face and told you they were in it. And don't give up on them. And again, with the teams I root for, being a blind optimist usually just gets me agita and fucking heart pain like today. But I'm going to say this. They caught some serious lightning in a bottle. And I have loved the last couple of months. Alex, as the other resident American League Central geographic component, what was it like watching that?
Well, watching that lead from the Tigers go from 15 games to 6 games to 3 games to 1 game, half a game, and then finally taking the lead, I'm just like, no way. These gritty boys found a way to just, grind it out. And you know what? In those grinding games, going up against the likes of Tarek Skubal and taking him out early in the game, like the 3rd or 4th inning. Twice. There
Nice.
you go. So
Twice in 5 days.
just incredible on their end, honestly.
And here's the thing. Skubal's got 2 Achilles heels. One apparently is Alex Bregman for whatever fucking reason. Alex Bregman just hits him all over the yard. But the other is Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, usually you hear, and this is because I lived there, and I lived the 90s and those teams that were just beating dudes left, right, and center. It always seemed the Indians/Guardians had an Achilles heel that would get exploited in the postseason, and it would cause them to lose most of the time in heartbreaking fashion. The sheer fact that this gritty bunch of basically the cast of fucking Major League, they have the number of Tarek Skubal. Are you kidding me?
We talked a couple of weeks ago when they were starting to make this run. It was getting a lot closer, Mike, you and I, that we actually said that I threw out the numbers of how dominant Skubal was. I think John was on with us, of how dominant he was in the 2 times he faced them in the regular season, because it's been so long since Cleveland and Detroit had met in the regular season. And then as good as he looked in that first game in Detroit, he was even better up until that dreadful 6th inning. And thankfully, David Fry was back in the clubhouse today with the facial fractures after taking that heater straight to his face.
Dude.
But it's just something about, he's so dominating against Cleveland early in the year. They always seem to get him later, because remember, they got to him in the playoff game last year, here, and then they got to him twice in the span of, again, 5 days between Detroit and Cleveland. And this would be very interesting to go back and research of I can't remember, Mike, you and I were talking about this, and Alex, I'd like to bring you in with this as well. Do you guys ever remember two teams meeting in the playoffs that had met that many times in the final maybe 2 weeks of the regular season, at least in baseball, because you had 6 games between these two teams over the course of the last 2 weeks of the season, and now they're going to meet in the playoffs again for a best of 3.
I can't remember some two teams that were within the same division, kind of going neck and neck, and then finding their way to meet each other in the playoffs in recent past. Nothing is ringing a bell to me, honestly.
I would think you'd have to go back to the 03-04 seasons when the Yankees and Red Sox 2 years in a row played 7-game LCSs. But again, that was the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
Back then, not the third round.
So you had
you had a
might have had
series
it at the end of the regular season, but you also still had the better part of a week gap before they faced each other again. Whereas this time, Detroit just got out of here on Thursday, and now they're coming back on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting 3 games, dude. I mean, what are we thinking? Bybee and Skubal in game 1.
I think Bybee threw yesterday, so I'm thinking it might be Gavin Williams.
Okay, so Williams. Did Skubal pitch against Boston?
I don't think he did. I think they held him out. That's why they went with him on Thursday night, was for short rest for game 1, or if they actually needed to run him today to go for the division.
Okay, so you're probably going to get Gavin Williams and Skubal in game 1, which now looks a lot different after the last 2 series. That's not the slam dunk you would think the Tigers would have in that game. If I had to guess, as my son's toy that has no way to get rid of the batteries just randomly starts singing. It's not touched. The thing is fucking possessed. Hey, could you turn on like that when the Mets need something, you son of a bitch? Anyway, that's going to be an interesting game too, because I think that's where the Guardians are going to really have the advantage. Not only the fact that they're home, but with the way that they played down the stretch, Detroit's second starter is such a drop off all of a sudden.
Who's that going to be? Probably Flaherty.
I was just thinking Jack Flaherty.
And it's not the Jack Flaherty of last year who went out and threw a 7-hit shutout in game 1 of the LCS.
Yeah, there's the magic that was there when he was with the Dodgers is not with him here in Detroit right now.
Not to try and make myself feel a little better, he's looked more like the Jack Flaherty in game 5 of that LCS against the Mets last year, who gave up 7 runs in 3 2/3. So yeah, would they? If the Guards win, do they go to Seattle? They go to Toronto.
They would actually go to Seattle because they would actually be the 3. So naturally, unless Boston wins, because don't they reseed?
I'm trying to remember because
you know what? Yeah, they would go to Seattle because that's now the talk. Because if they get through, it would be Bo Naylor against Josh Naylor in the second round.
That's awesome.
So before we shift over to the National League, some numbers about the Guardians over the last 23 games: 19-4, a 2.07 ERA by the starting pitching. A major league record 19 consecutive starts where the starters gave up 2 runs or fewer. The bullpen had an ERA of 2.22. They scored 50 runs with 2 outs. They outscored their opponents 103-53. And the Guardians also today became the first division champion since the 2007 Diamondbacks to win a division with a negative run differential. The Guardians finished with a -6. The Diamondbacks were a -20. And remember that year, they finished half a game better than the Rockies, who had a +40 run differential and played 1 fewer game because there was a game cancellation in September that the Diamondbacks had the tiebreaker over the Rockies, and Major League Baseball decided they didn't need to play it.
And they met in the LCS that year too.
Right.
That's who Colorado beat to get to the World Series, where they got their clocks cleaned by the Red Sox.
Sidebar really quick, makes you think who needs Emmanuel Clase, huh?
That's the other thing that's amazing about this is that they sold off Josh Naylor. They trade. His name is eluding me, to Toronto.
Bieber.
Bieber.
No. The shortstop.
Oh, Jimenez.
Yes, they
Jimenez.
trade off Andres Jimenez. We're thinking maybe wild card, maybe on the cusp, and so they trade Bieber right before he's ready to make his comeback, and then they start this roll. And Mike, you and I talked about it even last week. On August 25th, they had been shut out by the Rays 9-0. They were 11 and a half out. And as of today, they finish one game better than the Tigers and win the division. And there were people that did not leave. They were trying to shoo those people out of the ballpark today. Nobody was leaving.
And yet they don't outdraw the fucking Browns.
Well, of course, they only draw 31,000 at that stadium with the renovations.
You know what I mean. So let's go over the National League, which is even more fucking depressing. God damn you, Tito. No, I'm only playing. First of all, hats off to the Cincinnati Reds. Tito Francona, in his first year back in baseball, takes that team that all of us thought was going to be dog shit, and he gets them to the final wild card. They will play the Los Angeles Dodgers on Tuesday night. I would have to bet they're going to see Ohtani in Game 1.
Oh, without because I know Kershaw was left off the wild card roster.
Who, Kershaw was?
Yeah.
You're definitely getting Ohtani in fucking Game 1 then.
Do they really need him, though?
I would assume that they would get Yamamoto Game 1, no?
I was thinking the same thing.
I would think they'd get Ohtani Game 1 with a bullpen backup behind him. The Dodgers have used that pretty well down the stretch, that formula. And then you get Yamamoto in Game 2.
I don't know if that series is going to be, it could be a 2-game blowout, but it's one of those things where it's going to be so good to be able to see Ellie De La Cruz on a national stage in a playoff round. It's, it's what we were hoping might have actually happened with a Paul Skeens here. We're hopeful in the next couple of years because you want the young up and coming studs like that to be able to get there. I mean, we're getting that with Cleveland, not to bring it back there, but Cleveland's got the third youngest roster in baseball, only 4 months younger than the Nationals, who are 3 months younger than the Rockies, I think.
Yeah, no, and I don't think, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think either team that was going to be the 6th seed was getting out of Dodger Stadium. I don't, and obviously my team would have been the other one. But with the way the Reds played, they've got the puncher's chance, and it's Tito. 3 separate World Series runs. And by the way, that Indians team in 2016, very much like this Cincinnati team.
I gotta say, I know we're kind of going through it. We're hopping American League, National League side right now, but I think, there's some top caliber talent on teams on both sides here. But I think this is probably one of the most wide open playoffs that anything can happen. There's no guarantee that the Dodgers are going to win. There's no guarantee that the Yankees are going to run away, or Boston, or anybody. This is wide open for every single team in here.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's the first time the Dodgers have had to play the wild card series.
Mm-hmm.
They've usually been the 1 seed. Last year they were the 1 seed. The year before that, I think they were the 2 seed. So we've got to see, and that's an older roster.
It is.
So we've got to see what the grind of a 162 game season, 1 day off, and then yes, you're hosting, so you're not worried about travel and whatnot. But you got to play a young team that's been playing postseason baseball for months.
And mind you, I know we said maybe Ohtani, Yamamoto kind of 1-2 punch. I've watched a considerable amount of Dodger baseball within the past couple months, and that bullpen is shaking. That bullpen has given up wins. They've blown save after save after save after save, and there's no your starter goes 5, you get 1 or 2 out of your the long reliever, and then you got a 8 and 9 guy that to kind of lock the game down. They are blowing games in 8th, and if not at the bottom of the 9th, with 1 or 2 outs, because I seen it happen with them a couple weeks ago against Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Now that series was the Dodgers won the regular season series 5-1 over Cincinnati in that one.
Yeah, and I honestly believe they're going to win that series in 2 games. And again, I'm saying that, and as I mentioned, if the Mets would have backed their way in, I think they would have beaten the Mets in 2 games as well. This would not have been. I don't think either of those two teams are built to beat the Dodgers in a short series. So yeah, it would have been nice to celebrate today, but I would have been done celebrating by Wednesday.
Um, Real quick, while we talked about it, with the season series, Cleveland beat Detroit 8-5 in the season series. We talked about the Yankees, and the last one before we get into that series, the Padres and Cubs split 3-3 this year.
Okay. Which, by the way, gentlemen, speaking of that, outside of historical rivalry, and recency bias in series, that Cubs San Diego series might be the most interesting one of the 4 that we're going to see starting Tuesday. You're talking about a San Diego team that has been right there. You get 22, you get to Game 6 of the LCS. 23, you're in the postseason again, and you take did they take? No, they took out the Dodgers in 22. 23, I don't think they got out of the first round. 24, you got the Dodgers on the ropes, and they found a way to win the last 2 games using the bullpen. And I don't remember who pitched Game 5 for them. Maybe it was Yamamoto or Walker Buehler. But San Diego's window is closing, even with all the trades they made this year with the back end of the bullpen, which is just unfucking fair. These Cubs, man, they can pitch. They got a champion, a shortstop in Dansby Swanson, who plays phenomenal defense and gets a timely hit every now and again. I think it's good to see PCA on the national stage now, as good as he has been. Jim, since I asked Alex the first question the first time, do you see that being the only series to go 3 games?
I absolutely do, because with when you look at this series of how close it is, that naturally nobody got to 95 wins. Well, the Phillies and the Brewers were the only teams to reach 95 wins this year. But this series, you got 2 wild card teams that hit 90 wins. The Cubs hit 92, the Padres hit 90, and then the run differentials. Chicago had 104, is a plus 144, second in the National League to who? Oh yeah, the Milwaukee Brewers. They even had a better run differential than the Dodgers. And of all the teams in the playoffs, they ranked third. That the Yankees led everybody with a plus 164, and the Yankees had an 8-game win streak, to end the regular season, to be able to catch, Toronto up until today. But I think that's where this one's going to come down to is, remember we talked in previous years of who's going to be able to, hit the ball out of the park and everything. Well, we all know that the ball travels very well in Chicago in the postseason, and then San Diego with the heat and the humidity from this year, you're going to be lucky trying to keep the ball in the park at that point. What's the phrase I used with you on the phone the other day? The Mr. Baseball line. I get pissed over that fence. It is Petco Park, of course.
Yeah. No, that's at Wrigley.
Yeah, I forgot that they do all 3 at the same site.
Yeah, the wild card series. I like that, by the way, especially for the wild card series. I think it's perfect the way it is. So if we had to pick who's getting through the first round, I'll go first and tell you I think Cleveland is going to get out of the first round and go to Seattle, so the Naylor brothers can inevitably get into a fight somehow. I like the Red Sox. You don't beat a team 9-4 and know their weakness. The fact that if Crochet wins Game 1 after last year's World Series, everybody knows those sphincters in that Yankee dugout are going to get real tight. In the National League, I like the Dodgers to win over Cincinnati. And Alex, I'm giving a tip of the cap to your hometown. I'm going to take the Cubs to beat the Padres, which sets up something pretty cool. You get Phillies Dodgers in the NLDS Game 1 in Philadelphia, Game 1 and 2 in Philadelphia. And then you get the Cubs and the Brewers Game 1 in Milwaukee. In the American League, it would set up Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Cleveland, Seattle. I mean, I think those are the more compelling matchups in round 2 as well. Jim, who do you think?
I like Cleveland. I think it goes 3. Because they've got the flair for the dramatic. I
No
like
shit.
the Yankees over the Red Sox. There's just something about them with the Yankees. They're going to get the calls. Boston. They're Boston in that hostile environment. They haven't done as well in recent years in the postseason in Yankee Stadium. We all remember the breaking of the curse and everything, but it's a different saga right now. I like the Dodgers over the Reds. I like San Diego over the Cubs for some reason. There's something about it because the Cubs they've really had nothing but the wild card to play for about the last month, whereas the Padres were trying to chase down the Dodgers, and another week you figure might have actually caught them. So I think San Diego's got a little bit more hunger in them, and they might be able to run the Cubs down, especially with that daytime, baseball. So you got the heat and the humidity in Chicago, and we know that they can jack the ball all over the yard.
Yeah. Alex, what do you think, bud?
I'm definitely going Guardians over Detroit. I think that they just kind of have their number. I think Detroit's kind of run out of gas, quite honestly. Kudos to them for getting this far, but I think when you go up against a little bit of a gritty kind of juggernaut, that next man up kind of thing. If somebody gets hurt in that lineup, you could plug somebody in and they're gonna crack, the game, the game winning double or something like that. I think Cleveland takes that. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I think Boston edges out New York. I really do think that. I think their pitching is what's gonna put them over the top. I know they both got pretty stout lineups, but I think the pitching, starting and bullpen, is gonna probably prevail for Boston. National League side, I'm going to probably side Dodgers over Cincinnati, even though I would love to see Cincinnati kind of pull up the upset. I think that would just kind of shock the world right there. And then hometown versus San Diego, I probably am going to lean slightly Cubs, even though I like exactly what San Diego's doing right now. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the starting pitching right now for the Cubs just took a little bit of a hit. One of the rookie phenoms that they had, Cade Horton, went down with like a broken rib. So he's out of this series. The earliest he can come back is the NLDS. So he's out probably 2+ weeks. And he was probably pegged to be their number 2, their number 2 starter. They were going to go Shota, probably Cade Horton, I think. So they have to mix it up a little bit. But the boys can swing a bat here in Chicago. So I think Chicago, but it could go 50-50, honestly.
And Jim, if we could do one of the 2 big weekend numbers of the week that we have for tonight, to start here. And the first big weekend number of the week is 50 and 36. And do either one of you gentlemen know what those numbers represent?
Would that be the Guardians after the All-Star break?
No.
Is that Milwaukee after the All-Star break?
No. That's the Boston Red Sox after they traded Rafael Devers to the Giants.
Wow.
And the Giants had the reciprocal 36 and 50 record.
No way. Wow.
Before we get out of this segment, let's talk about real quick here. What's the one surprise that you had, positive or negative, of teams that did not make the playoffs outside of the New York Mets? What was your takeaway? Could be, the Giants not getting there, Baltimore slide back. What was your surprise?
Here's the one. How about all 4 of us had 3 teams from the NL East get into the playoffs, and they only got 1. Every one of us had Mets, Phillies, and Braves in the postseason. Now, the Braves, it was catastrophic injuries. The Mets, it was a combination of players not doing the job they were brought in to do. Helsley, Rogers, Soto, Gregory Soto, because we'll talk about the other one in a minute. And just really forgetting how to hit with men on base for like 3 months. So yeah, the fact that all four of us had three teams from the National League East getting the postseason, and they only got one, that was shocking to me.
Alex?
A little bit of the shocking one to me. I think it was more NL West. I really thought that with Arizona adding Corbin Burns, that was going to really make the NL West competitive. Ultimately, him going down with Tommy John is what blew the tire in that team. Uh, I mean, there's nothing you could do about injuries. Injuries happen, but I think with the way that Arizona was kind of bolstering their lineup, kind of getting some depth in their pitching rotation, they were really looking to kind of make that run to make it come somewhat competitive. So it's not always Padres, Dodgers, Padres, Dodgers. But ultimately, when you get bit by the injury bug, as the Braves kind of felt throughout the season, it really puts a hole in your blimp to kind of make it to the promised land.
Jim, what about you?
I'm going to go a little different direction here, and I'm actually going to find a little bit of a silver lining. What about the performance this year, even though they both came up short of the two teams that got displaced? And I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Rays and the Sacramento Athletics. The Rays get moved to a minor league park, and we're competitive, finish 8 games under 500. The Athletics, these are not the losing 110 game Athletics. They make a little bit of a run in the second half of the year. They put the Angels in the cellar and finish only 8 games under 500, and they've got something here. And I don't know if you guys saw, but they've already announced today that they've got alternate jerseys that they're going to wear on Friday or Sunday games next year that are going to be the gold jerseys, but they're actually going to say Sacramento on them. So at least this way they've got a little bit of an identity for the next 2 years until the stadium's built in Las Vegas.
The A's have, I think, one of the best young cores in baseball. I mean, Jack Wilson. Did you see the thing with Jack Wilson, this kid?
Yes.
That was so cool. Are the A's the anti-Pirates?
I think without question right now, because they've got something there. There is, we saw Houston miss the playoffs today for the first time in 9 years. Well, technically they were eliminated yesterday when Cleveland and Detroit both got in. But Houston not winning the AL West for the first time in 6 years, was surprising enough. But we knew that the A's were going to come back. We knew that Seattle had all the makings of finally getting over the hump. We didn't actually think, because I think we also said some of us were even looking for Texas to get in this year, and then they were there right until the final week of the year. Oakland has got something. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Oakland was knocking possibly on the door of a wild card next year, and watch maybe baseball step in and say, hey, okay, you can play, you're going to be in the postseason. Let's put you in a stadium that actually houses more than 15,000 people if that happens.
You move them to Anaheim.
I was going right there really quickly. Are we ever going to get Mike Trout in any type of playoff series before he retires? No.
Unless he gets traded to the Phillies. I don't believe so. And
so you think the only way for him out is if he goes home?
Yes. And I'm going to say this, and Alex, I know he's your boy, and he was my boy too. I went to his Hall of Fame induction. Mike Trout really is the Ken Griffey Jr. of this generation.
I mean,
the only difference is Griffey stayed healthy, and Trout actually in the final game of the regular season, off injured, finally got to 400 home runs, and he's really not a surefire Hall of Famer right now.
I don't think there's anyone who would keep him out. I think it would be stupid.
I don't think he's first ballot. I think it might take a few years because of how injured he is. When he's healthy, he's arguably one of the best players in the game. But let's keep in mind, he's 34 years old and hasn't played a full season in 6 years.
Yeah, if he sticks around till 38, and if he can hit 25 bombs over the next 4 years and he gets to 500, obviously he's a lock.
Right. Right.
I
But as it
I think
stands
he gets
right
to
now, if something were to
475.
happen and he were to walk away, I don't think he gets in for
No,
5
if he
years.
walks away, he won't. If he walks away, he will not. If he sticks around for, I think he's got 4 years left on the contract. If he plays out his contract and he gets close to 500, I think he gets in. That's just me, and I love Trout. But yeah, it seems like it was around the same time when Griffey started getting hurt is when Trout started getting hurt, and it's because they both played center field recklessly. They played hard. This is not he's not Anthony fucking Rendon.
It's just gonna go there.
I
Trout
figure
has
it's maybe the trip.
Trout has 6 years left on that deal at 37.1 million each of the next 6 years.
Whew.
If he plays 4 of them, he's going to get if he plays 4 healthy ones of those 6, he gets to 500 home runs. And then he's a lock. But let's get to the depressing shit, shall we?
Michael, some sound effects.
Okay, can we not do that right now?
Yes, Alex. Taylor Swift saying what Kylie Kelsey said to Jason the first time she met him is on the soundboard.
Wow. I would not have expected that ever.
Oh, dude. Have you seen that interview on New Heights with her?
Yeah, I did. I did happen to catch that.
Listen, you knew there was a soundbite coming out of that, whether it's the Xavier Worthy one or the fact she's talking cover 2 and cover 0. Something was coming out of that. When she told that story, I said to Jim, I said, bro, you've got to get that on the fucking soundboard. So, yeah, bigger collapse. I'm going to take the high road here, and I'm going to say the Mets. And not because of the payroll. Stop being obsessed with it. The Guardians proved today if they had a payroll, if they had a fucking salary floor, they'd have won that division by 20. But it's not so much that. It is that this team was 45-24 after 69 games. Nice. And
Okay, can we not do that right now?
we're going to play a game and how many times you and I can utilize that in one episode sometime. So, and that's what it is. And not only that, you're talking about a team that every expert, including us, said had maybe the best trade deadline of anybody. You get Gregory Soto for a fucking a bucket of baseballs. You have to overpay a little bit for Taylor Rogers, and you get Helsley for a bucket of baseballs. Same thing with Cedric Mullins. Now, for all the bellyaching I've seen on social media today, on the David Stearns is a moron and Steve Cohen needs to sell the team, shut the fuck up. This is on the players. Ryan Helsley started tipping his pitches the minute he got to New York and couldn't figure out how to use his mechanics to get rid of it. I don't know if Rogers scraped his fucking knuckles on the ground too many goddamn times because he couldn't throw strikes either. Soto had moments. Cedric Mullins, it's like half the Met fans thought he was coming in here to be fucking Cespedes circa 2015. What planet are we living on? This team forgot to hit with men in scoring position. It was the most streaky Mets team, and I'm 40, almost 47. This is the streakiest Mets team I've ever seen. And I lived through 07 and 08. Which brings us to the second Big Rican number of the week. And that number is 3, gentlemen. And what does the number 3 stand for?
Huh. 3.
The number of times they actually put the bat on the ball today.
I think that was only 2.
Somebody put out on Threads and the gif of Alvarez smashing the bat over his knee, and I'm like, I responded, at least the bat hit something today.
Yeah, right. So I'll not keep you in the suspense, but that is the 3rd time since 2007 that the Miami or Florida Marlins have eliminated the New York Mets on the last day of the season. Here's what the kicker is. In 2007, John Maine took a no-hitter into the 9th inning in game 161. The Mets lost game to keep them in the playoff race. And on game 162, they lost and were out of the playoffs. In 2008, the final year at Shea Stadium, I was there when Johan Santana on a torn meniscus threw a 4-hit shutout against the Marlins, only for the Mets to lose in game 162. Last night, Clay Holmes threw his best start of the year. 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs. The Mets lay a fucking egg in game 162. Third time. As soon as I saw Holmes's line and I saw that they threw a 1-hit shutout last night, I shit you not. I wasn't playing anything. I was watching Ohio State. And I said to myself, they're going to fucking lose tomorrow.
Shit.
It's almost like I knew it.
Alex, I'd like your take on who do you think is the bigger collapse right now?
I'm not going to go, like you said, Mike, I'm not going to go the route of salary because doesn't make any sense right now. I'm going to probably lean Detroit Tigers because how the fuck do you blow a 15-game lead in August? How? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I get it. You go on little losing streaks and stuff like that. But then when you play against your rival who's chasing you and you lay egg after egg after egg, and that game, that, like I said earlier, that lead goes from 15 to 9 to 6 to 1 to 0, and you're tied for the division. Like, how are you not like chewing off your nails as the Detroit Tigers? Like, what does AJ Hinch, what does Tarek Skubal, anybody in that locker room need to do to kind of light a fire to say, hey boys, like, we had a 15-game lead. Let's figure this out. Let's, close out, strong in some fashion. And yeah, I know they back their way into the playoffs, but you're not going in with any type of momentum. So for me, it's the Detroit Tigers hands down.
Now, the only thing the Tigers have going for them, the last time they backed into the playoffs was 2006.
Sure.
That team went to the World Series and lost to the Cardinals. So that's the only thing Detroit's got going for them. And if you guys remember, that Detroit team had a huge fucking lead that year. And who ended up winning the Central in 06? It happened to the White Sox, right?
I've got it right here.
I mean, it feels like it would be
Minnesota. Okay.
And the only reason they won is because Minnesota won on the last day of the regular season and Detroit lost.
That was the Carlos Gomez, the walk-off hit that Gomez scored the winning run on, wasn't it? No, Gomez wasn't up yet.
Who won the American League West that year?
Houston. Or not Houston. Houston Streaker with the home run. The A's.
The Oakland Athletics.
Because that's Houston Streaker.
There were still six
the dinger
in the NL Central. They had the Astros had not moved yet.
Yeah, that's the Houston Streak gave up the dinger to Maglio to send him to the World Series. It was, 22 years to the day after they won the World Series. Maglio hit the walk-off to send him to the World Series. Jim, and I know you're going to say the Mets because that's just who you are. And I've known it for 30-some years. I respect it, and I understand it. But could you give, outside of payroll, James, your reason that it's the Mets?
Michael, you can take the next couple of minutes off here, so I will take care of that here for you. If the Mets are staying home, clap your hands. If the Mets are staying home, clap your hands. Cohen spent $1 billion for some bums that can't be clutch. Now the Mets are staying home, so clap your hands. Soto hits 43 bombs. Lindor hits 31 bombs, goes 30-30-40. What's your point? Pete Alonso hits 38 bombs. Merry Christmas. Here's some shit in your cereal. The Reds have a $140 million payroll, and the three guys I just mentioned combined for $112.25 million. And Alex, you'll appreciate this. If I could steal the old ECW line, City Field may have been better built out of toilet paper because the team that plays in it is nothing but shit. Which brings me to the JC Blue Note number of the week. And that number is 716.68. Anybody happen to know what that number represents?
Not offhand.
You want me not to bring up the number, but that is the combined number of payroll from 2025 and 2023, where the New York Mets are now sitting home 2 of the last 3 years. You might not want to choke away the last 2 weeks of the season when you've got a top 10 all-time payroll. It is by far the New York Mets, because at least the Detroit Tigers got there. The Mets have nothing to they were up 5 games in this division prior to the All-Star break. Were knocked out of the division race weeks ago and got caught in the last week by the Reds. And had Arizona not nosedove, they would have actually caught the Mets too. And the Mets would have been sitting at not only the 7, but maybe the 8. You don't pay this much money for this much star power and get this level of results, especially, and that's actually even what's more gratifying, not even so much taking a shot at my co-host, but to see a team go out and try and buy a title and fall flat on their face. And I don't want to hear anything about salary cap, salary floor, because we know it has to happen. And this is actually the best feeling for me. It's not even the Guardians getting there. I would have actually been fine had the Guardians run out of gas the last, 2 or 3 days and missed it altogether. To see a team like the Mets try and buy a title and not even get there, chef's kiss. Because I know Detroit's talented enough to get there. The Guardians had the 3rd youngest team in baseball. New York, what's your excuse? This is why the Mets will always be the little brother. They might as well play in New Jersey because they're not good enough to play in New York, because it's a Yankee town and nobody can take them seriously, especially now. Because the Yankees, the Red Sox, even the Padres and the Dodgers, they go out and they spend, and at least they can be consistent and get there. Steve Cohen, yeah, you can talk about all you want about him at least being I can't think of the exact term because it's certainly not frugal, but definitely auspicious enough to go out and spend the money. The problem is Lindor grounding into a double play to end the season is kind of the microcosm of his career, because he never shows up in the playoffs except for maybe 1 year. Especially, and he certainly doesn't show up in the clutch. And Juan Soto is the biggest prima donna in baseball, and I don't want to hear Kyle Schwarber or his buddy over there in Philly, in Bryce, but 40, 30, 30, great, wonderful, hurrah. You're sitting home for the second time in 3 years. Detroit takes a nosedive, but Detroit still had the lead up until the final day of the regular season, or at least a share of it. And you were actually out of the standings at some point in this past week. With that payroll and that talent level,
I guess, Mike, that you make fantastic points, my friend. Mike, where does Cohen go from here?
you're unmuted.
Oh, okay. Good. Where does Cohen go from here? Well, here's the thing. I will say the same thing going into this postseason or offseason as I said last year. Pete Alonso needs to be priority one. Sorry. He needs to be priority one. I said it to you guys. I said it in the blog. I've said it to you personally. I did not think Soto was priority one last year. Now, having said that, you go that is for me. There was no single thing you said that was wrong there. Not a single thing. I will say that the numbers you brought up alleviates some of the blame you can put on those three players. Some of. And the Lindor shots, you've really got to get over it that he got traded, bro. It's been 5 years. You really got.
He's an offensive machine, and he can't do shit once the calendar turns to September and October.
Were you listening when he hit the one that got him in the playoffs last year, or did you miss the grand slam against the Phillies? Seriously, do you turn it off because you don't think I'm going to tell you about it?
I mean, a broken watch is right twice a day, Mike.
I hope all the skates fall off of the Blues' feet. How about that?
Before
May they
I
lose-
wouldn't, you know
may they
what?
lose Josh
If
Allen
that
in those
happens, you know who I'm going to
uniforms.
blame. I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to blame Marc-Andre Fleury, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Did you see he painted his number on Sidney Crosby's car?
On every he got Malkin too. He got a lot of people. I think he got Letang too.
That's amazing. But as far as what Cohen does, see, here's the thing that Steve Cohen has tried to do. And this is the reason the payroll is so high. Is Steve Cohen has run this team like a fan. He wants to win a title. Guys, next year is 40 years. 40 years.
And it'll be 41 and 42 and 43 because you
Well,
can't
let's see what
run
they
a
do.
you can't manage a franchise like a fantasy roster.
No, but the other thing he's instructed David Stearns to do, and he has done, if you pay attention to any of the farm system rankings, the Mets are in the top 5 all of a sudden. When Steve Cohen bought the team in 2020, the Mets were in the bottom 4. He's basically trying to do what the Dodgers have done, which is spend the money on the free agents while you build the farm system. And he's done that. The only difference is the Dodgers have gotten the job done, which bully for the fucking Dodgers. But they also went from 1988 to the bubble, which everyone thinks isn't a real championship, from winning. So if you're talking about a 162 game title, they went from 1988 to 2024 without winning a championship and had one of the higher payrolls every single year. This is not going to be an easy fix. This was a franchise that was run into the ground because of Bernie Madoff and the Wilpons not doing anything to make it good. 2015 was the biggest fluke I've ever seen. As much fun as Harvey and DeGrom and Syndergaard and Matz and all those boys were, they had no business being in that World Series. None. The Nationals fell apart. That's why the Mets got in, and we all know pitching wins in October. This year, and again, there's nothing that Jim said that was wrong outside of some of the vitriol that he has about the whole payroll thing. They've got some choices to make. The Mets need pitching. And I say Alonso's priority one because I'm a fan. The Mets need pitching. And that's what screwed them this year. Griffin Canning was one of the top 5 pitchers in the National League, tore the Achilles. Sean Manaea came off a season when he was the left-handed pitcher we've been dying for since Steven Matz. Fell apart. David Peterson couldn't find the fucking strike zone from August 1st on. Fell apart. Frankie Montas was a wasted sperm. Fell apart. You didn't get anything out of your deadline acquisitions. 0. That bullpen should be pitching Tuesday. That bullpen should have been able to go past the Phillies. Didn't get it done. At the end of the day, they put together a good roster. Players didn't get the job done. Problem is, you can't fucking get rid of all of them.
Would you put any blame on any players?
Yeah. Start in the bullpen minus Edwin Diaz and start going down the list.
So you're just back in this.
The Mets blew games. You ready for this? The Mets blew leads in 90 games. 90 games. So whereas my co-host brings up a good point, yes. In April when we talked and Juan Soto was hitting 212, if I'd have told you guys he went hit more homers than he ever has in his career and stole 30-some bases, almost 40, you guys would have looked at me like I was fucking crazy. Or was going to go 30-30 after what he started. You all would have said I was nuts. So to blast those three, I'm putting Pete in that list too. Other than a handful of at-bats throughout the year where they just didn't get the job done. Their rotation was terrible after the first 2 months of the season. It was horrendous, except for Diaz. Now, Diaz opted out of his deal, too. It's going to be a big number offseason for the Mets, but it's going to be to keep their guys. Out, let them fucking go. 2023 was amazing. Cody Senga 24 was injured, 25 was terrible.
So I guess at this point, do you see them going out there and just throwing more money around, or just more so focused on?
I believe the top 3 pitchers in the Mets rotation next year will be Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean, and Jonah Tom. They will fill the top of the rotation, those 3 kids, from the inside.
Okay.
I believe that they will move Matthew Allen, who was once a massive starting pitching prospect, into the bullpen. And they will have him work out of there. They've got pieces. As much as it pains me to say this, I think Mark Vientos and Jeff McNeil's days in Mets uniforms are over. They will be trade bait. They will be moved. They will be moved for arms. There are still people on different social media sites saying, is Steve Cohen going to take a swing for Paul Skeens? Possibly. It won't work because you can't get rid of all the talent you're going to have to give up in order to keep a team winning. You're going to have to give up 1, if not 2, of your 3 studs you have are now under control for 6 more years that are not going to cost you $400 million to keep. It's an interesting offseason. I think David Stearns needs to hire a GM. It's today pissed me off, and it wasn't even what you said, dude, because you were 100% right. But today pissed me off.
So I guess before we kind of jump into the next little I guess part of this is going to be the nail in the coffin for 2027, the salary floor salary ceiling. Then
they're not going to get a salary cap. I think the Players Association is going to ask for a salary floor, which I think is a better move. Because if you ask for a salary cap right now, I want you to think about this now in as far as logistics goes, Jim, not anything else. You get a salary cap now, you're in the same situation you're in today in a few years.
I'm glad that Alex brought up 2027 because with all the dysfunction that we're talking about after
may not have a season.
With the conversation and the massive shutdown we're going to have, that might actually be the next time we get legitimate baseball.
Well, no, 26. After the 26 season is when the CBA expires. So 27 is the year we would lose if we lost it. But let me put it this way: you put a salary cap in effect in 2027. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox all have to start selling off pieces to get under the cap. It's not going to happen.
Which likely won't happen.
Exactly. So a salary floor makes all these owners, like the Dolans, like that dumb fucking Pittsburgh, like Kansas City, like Tampa, it makes them bring it up to like the White Sox. By the way, we may have something special for Azerbaijan. I'm just throwing it out there.
The one comment I actually, Mike, I was telling you what Tom Hamilton said, the radio broadcaster for the Guardians, when Detroit had lost and the Guardians had officially clinched, and they said he was scoreboard watching with everything, and he was paying attention to what the Mets did, and it's like, and he actually says, "I'm glad the Mets lost because then you would have actually had all 4 games starting. So then, if the Mets would have actually gone in there, you would have had a Mets, Dodgers, and Yankees, Red Sox, which means Major League Baseball, according to Rob Manfred, would have put the Guardians on at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning." He's right.
He is right. He's 100% right. And again, I like the parody. Am I upset my team is sitting home? Absolutely. You're late.
He was there 5 minutes ago when I had you on mute.
No, Luna's been sitting back there. This asshole's been over here judging me
Okay.
the whole time. It's what he does. So, yes, he's absolutely right. Rob Manfred would have had a stiffy for the next 3 days. There's a visual you'll never want to get rid of. But the salary floor makes all these owners, who, by the way, under Forbes published valuations and Forbes published revenue, 7 of the top 15 teams that made money over the last few years are small market teams who then put little to none back into the franchise. All the teams with these gigantic payrolls made money and put it right back into the team. The problem isn't the amount of money people are paying these players, Jim. The problem is there are guys who have billions in the bank who aren't taking care of their franchises nor their fan bases. You're telling me if the Dolans paid, never mind Lindor, if the Dolans would have kept Jimenez and gotten a little bit more pitching because they had to bring the salary number up to a certain level, that this Guardians team wouldn't be having to go on a run like this to win that division?
I mean, that I could, the logic is not lost, but you can't keep waiting for lightning in a bottle with teams trying to go out and buy pennants every year.
I agree with you.
The Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, all in recent years winning titles and having top 5 payrolls.
It's been 16 years since the New York Yankees won a World Series.
But
That's not that reason.
but you know the argument I'm getting at here.
I do understand the argument you're getting at. So,
The Braves, the Cubs when they won in 16, we're talking top 5, top 8 payrolls.
do you know what my favorite moment of the 2015 World Series was? And this will tell you where my brain is as far as the way my team is constructed. It was the 5th or 6th inning of Game 5. Cespedes fouled a ball off his leg. They pulled him. 8 out of the 9 players the New York Mets had on the field had all been developed by and made their major league debuts with the New York Mets.
Homegrown.
Behind the dish. Darno behind the dish. David Wright at third. Wilmer Flores at short. Daniel Murphy at second. Lucas Duda at first. Harvey on the bump. Michael Conforto in left. Juan Lagares in center. The only person who was not debuted by the Mets was Curtis Granderson. That is my favorite moment of Mets baseball in the last 15 years. Do I love the fact that we have an owner that puts his fucking wallet where it should go? Absolutely, I do. Do I more love the fact that this year came down to 3 dudes out of our farm system trying to save the team? I love that even more. I love the built teams.
And you guys are sitting home. Anyway, let's actually get to our final segment before Alex has to go to bed.
Oh, this is a good one. Let's leave the MVP for last because I got a feeling there's going to be some blows thrown for this one.
So let's go around the dish here, and and who are you guys for AL and NL MVP, managers of the year, and who do you like for the Cy Young?
I'll start with Cy Young, and Paul Skeens is going to win it unanimously in the National League.
I second that.
when Jacob deGrom won the award in 2018 and was 10-9, the win stopped being an important stat for the writers. Jim, are you on Skeens? You got somebody else?
I got Freddie Peralta. I think his record was much better. His ERA was less than 0.2 of a run within Skeens, and I think his strikeouts were within 25 of Skeens. And I think he had a much better performance. Now, granted, yes, he did have a much better, staff around him and a much better roster. But yeah, I can understand the idea of the wins not meaning nearly as much, but you can't actually have 10 wins and win a Cy Young in something that's not a COVID bubble.
It's already happened. As a matter of fact, it's happened twice.
I just think
he won 11 games in 19.
A little bit more as great as Skeens was. I think Freddie Peralta. I think it means a little bit more with that. That's why, and I can even make an argument that Sanchez and Philly would have actually been a little bit more deserving than Skeens.
Yeah, I just looked up his stats right now. 17-6 with a 2.7 ERA. That's pretty damn good. And then you put the team on your back, and you put the Brewers in position to just never relinquish the NL Central, which is commendable behind a Cubs team that was climbing and nipping at their heels. So,
Peralta had a phenomenal year, but now here's the real question: what's Paul Skeens doing on the Brewers? What's Paul Skeens doing on the Phillies?
I don't think he's putting up this level of numbers.
You're out of your mind.
No, because here's my logic. Is that here's the only reason is because he doesn't have to pitch nearly as deep into games because he's already got the run support that he doesn't in Pittsburgh. He gets a lot of these numbers because he's trying to stretch out because of the fact that Pittsburgh can't get the ball out of the infield. And I'm not saying that as a detriment to Skeens. It's more of a detriment on Pittsburgh than anything.
I'm going to say this, and I will stand behind it. If Paul Skeens was on the Milwaukee Brewers, he'd have won 20 games, and we were not having this conversation.
Because, again, he's getting 4 or 5 runs of support every night.
If Paul Skeens is on the Philadelphia Phillies, he wins 20 games, and the Phillies are the favorite to win the National League. He's transformative. When we talk about once in a generation, we've heard it thrown around this year pretty bad with Arch Manning. Paul Skeens is actually once in a generation. This is the closest thing to Dwight Gooden I've seen since Dwight Gooden. And Doc was nasty. Skeens is better.
AL Cy Young?
Crochet from Boston.
I like Crochet as well. And I don't think it's got anything to do with Scooble's collapse in the last week, especially against Cleveland. I think Crochet's had a little bit extra there.
Crochet 18-5 with a 2.59 ERA. Scoople had a 2.21 or like 2.2 and change, but I think my money's on my former player Crochet, honestly.
Yeah, no, why is it these big years are coming out of dudes in big markets that are really fucking quiet?
And we can't believe we're saying that out of Boston, especially with a guy like Garrett Crochet, because Scooble got all the run this year because Detroit was so far out ahead and Boston was in 4th place for a good chunk of the summer.
Exactly. Jim, manager of the year, and I want to start American League. He goes back to back.
Dan Wilson.
You're crazy.
Dan Wilson. For
Jim.
what he did with Seattle this year, I understand what Stephen Vogt did with Cleveland in the second half. There's no way that Dan Wilson doesn't win this award.
I disagree. You just saw the greatest. Cleveland now has the 2 greatest comebacks in sports history. 3-1 down in the finals to the Warriors and down 15.5 with less than 50 to play.
Seattle just rattled off 90 wins and won their first division in almost a quarter century.
I know.
And
The Guardians were down
and
15 and a half games with less than 50 to play.
broke the streak of a team who had won 5 straight division titles and has also got 2 world championships in the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm. They were down 15 and a half with less than 50 to play.
Alex?
Well, I'm split down the middle, honestly. I like what's the guy's name in Seattle again?
Dan Wilson.
Dan Wilson, the old catcher.
Dan Wilson. Okay. I mean, I just look at that roster and think of what they did or didn't do at the trade deadline, and somehow find a way to, pull out the W and win the division. Kudos to them. But I do hear the point of Stephen Vogt of 15 and a half back. Finding some magic in that locker room and pushing them over the hump. So I could see it going either way. Honestly, I'm much more definitive on my National League one. Honestly.
Okay, go ahead and start with your National League, Alex.
Pat Murphy.
Yes.
Murphy, no
Yes.
doubt.
I don't think there's anybody who's going to deny Pat Murphy.
No, he definitely wins it. Hey Jim, who do you think was the cardboard cutout they ripped the pieces of the dress off of in Cleveland? All right, MVP, National League.
Do we even have to say it?
No.
Next.
No. Yeah. All right, so here's the big one. American League MVP. I would like to go last, please.
Cal Raleigh.
Means it's
Gotta
Alex.
be Cal Raleigh. I understand the talk of possibly Jose Ramirez or Aaron Judge, a catcher hitting 60 bombs and basically putting that team on his back to a division championship and the number 1 seed in the American League. It's got to be Cal Raleigh.
Stop reading my fucking mind.
You ain't going last. Dick. I echo your same sentiments, Jim. Without a doubt. I mean, you're talking about catcher. It's not an easy position to play by any stretch. And then the fact that, kudos to him, he participated in the home run derby, didn't win, but had a strong second half. Normally, everybody who participates in the home run derby second half of the year scuffles to hit home runs.
I'm glad that you brought that up because there's a lot of people talking about how Jose Ramirez sat out of the All-Star festivities. I think even on this show when we talked on the All-Star break, you guys were taking umbrage with me, and I will eat crow for that was a smart move by his part, and Raleigh, has the major league lead in home runs, goes into the Derby, whacks them all over the yard, and then basically has just a second half that we haven't seen in a long time. Judge going back to back. Jose's definitely going to get some love. Going 30, 30, 40 himself. And his was 30 home runs, 30 steals, and 40 doubles. Also finishing in the top 10 in batting average. But Cal Raleigh was the story of baseball really since May.
I'm sorry.
Let me tell you why. Oh, go on, Alex. I'm sorry.
No, just really quickly. I'm sorry. I don't have any Yankee hate because I have no stake in the game at all. But that ball yard is a joke. It's an absolute joke. To hitting a ball left field, right field, that's no.
Somebody on Twitter today tried to say that it's been proven that if Cal Raleigh played at home in Yankee Stadium, he would not have hit 60 home runs.
Oh my God.
He'd have hit 80.
He would have hit fucking 80. Stop.
I didn't read it. I was actually just going off the cuff.
So was I. Dude, that's bad. It started with having the same frames for the glasses without even talking about it, and now we're like quoting each other. Emotional damage. Exactly. Here's why Cal Raleigh is the MVP of the American League. He will more than likely win the Gold Glove behind the plate. The Mariners' team ERA was 3.86. Their WHIP was 1.22. So not only did he hit 60 bombs, drive in all those runs, he had a top 5 pitching staff that he controlled. Aaron Judge has the most famous drop fly ball since Luis Castillo. That's his claim to fame when he's not in the box. And he can't DH because Stanton can't walk. No, this is Cal Raleigh, and it shouldn't even be fucking close.
What are the chances it's basically rigged for Judge already, though? Or do you think
Wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock you?
Wouldn't shock me one bit. They tongue his ball sack like they do fucking Otani's.
Judge 331, 53 homers, 114 RBIs. Cal Raleigh 247, 60 home runs, 125 RBIs. Finished first in home runs, 125th in RBIs, and tied for fourth with a 948 OPS. Aaron Judge, on the other hand, led the league in batting average and was also first in OPS. So it's 1 and 1A at this point. But Judge is playing in a bandbox. And Mike, everything that you said is absolutely correct about the fact of we talk about an ace of a pitching staff, a closer, your top setup guy. Cleveland getting there with the best closer in baseball shut down for the last 3 months of the season in a gambling scandal. But the catcher on a Major League Baseball roster is essentially the quarterback. Although the funny thing is that they never put up the numbers that you expect. Cleveland's primary catcher was a second or third year player or a veteran who couldn't hit his weight and controlled the best pitching staff in baseball the second half of the year. Cal Raleigh did that while also still putting up numbers that no other guy behind the dish has ever done in the history of this sport.
I want you to think about this. Roy Campanella's record for home runs from a catcher stood from the 50s to 1996 when Todd Hundley broke it. Hundley's record stood from 1996 until I want to say 1999 when Javi Lopez broke it. Javi Lopez's record stood from that year to last year when Salvador Perez broke it. He's over a dozen clear of the single season record.
And here's the thing.
If these asshole writers won't let a DH be the MVP, how can you not let the guy who hits 60 bombs at the most important defensive position on the field that's not shortstop be the MVP when he's going to win the fucking Gold Glove too?
And here's the thing. Judge is 33. Cal Raleigh did this at 28. He's still got probably 5 or 6 more years behind the dish before his knees start giving up and he starts playing a little bit more DH and first base.
Jesus.
You know what the sad part that I'm thinking about? He's gonna just probably get dinged immensely for his batting average, 248, which is an indictment, I would say.
Yes and no, but how many catchers have hit 300? I know the answer to that. It's 2.
How many catchers have hit 50 in a year? 2.
0. No, him.
1.
Salvi hit 47.
Yeah.
Or 48. No, there have been 2. Ernie Lombardi with the Cardinals and Mike Piazza. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry, 3. Joe Mauer. So in 100 and almost 60 years of baseball, 3 catchers have hit 300. Meanwhile, Judge hits a foul ball and it can go out. You pop one up down the left field line, and it's going to go out. Not saying he hits a lot of cheapies. That boy hits some fucking bombs.
No, he does. But I mean, if you get one in the air and it hits the jet stream and it just happens to go right over the wall, it's still a dinger. So
Exactly. Now, who hit behind Cal Raleigh?
Randy
Randy hit second.
hit second.
It wasn't Julio.
Is it a junior? Oh no, that's never mind. That's Tampa.
The three players I can think of that hit behind Raleigh were Josh Naylor after the trade deadline, the shortstop
Crawford.
the fuck is his Crawford, and maybe Julio.
Oh yeah, Julio.
Okay. Aaron Judge had Stanton and Cody Bellinger.
I know
That's a
today he
hell of-
had Suarez.
Well, Eugenio Suarez had a good year too, but you're talking about from trade deadline to end of season, as opposed to spring training until the end of the year. Bellinger and Stanton were the majority of the guys who hit directly behind Aaron Judge. Sorry. Didn't mean to bring him up. Maybe they'll leave him in Ireland. Anyway. I'm sorry. It's to me, it's not even mathematical. It's a slam dunk. And that is, and in the National League, it's a slam dunk too. And you had a guy go 40-30. You had, I think Skeen's going to get an MVP vote because if you take Skeen out of the Pirates, he loses 120 games. Yeah, the American League one, and I got to step a little. The American League one is going to be interesting because it's really going to decide what these writers are about, and if they're about the guy in pinstripes, I'm going to vomit. So, James, are we doing a halftime or you want to power through again tonight since we only got Alex for a little bit longer?
I will leave it up to you guys.
I'm good either way, dude. How much longer do you think you got?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm until 9, so I got like half an hour left. So
Let's power through.
All right.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
Brought to you by the salty tears of Met fans. Anyway, or at least this one. So the Blast this week, hey, let's start in the middle because that was shit.
I will tell you right now, I didn't, except for about 5 minutes of the Browns game today, waiting on the Guardians to come on. I did not watch a single minute of college football. I only saw some scores.
Well, let me tell you three things that happened yesterday. Number one, 4 top 10 teams lost. We have a new number 2 in the University of Oregon. Second thing that happened. Hey, Jim, Drew Aller and Franklin didn't beat a top 5 team. Also, the Pope's Catholic, water's wet. And also true. I said on Facebook today, I said, oh, look, it's Khaki Pants' numbers before Connor, but he's got more integrity, so he's not going to cheat. Tell me I'm wrong.
No.
And also, I saw the greatest play of the year as Alabama came back to beat Georgia last night. Did you see the highlight of this, either of you guys? They
No.
threw a wide receiver screen to a 375-pound offensive lineman, and he ran fucking dudes over.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty. Like, they lined him up out wide, and you're like, okay, trick play. He took one step back, they threw him the ball, and he just fucking hammered dudes. It was pretty.
I think we have audio of that.
Basically. That broke Georgia's 38-game home winning streak.
Wow.
They had they had not lost between the hedges for several years. A couple other upsets. Florida State loses to Virginia.
I love the
Unreal.
fact that Virginia broke out the 1995 uniforms.
The last time they beat them. In their first real test since Texas, Ohio State wins 24-6 out in Washington. That Washington team is very good. They should have been ranked above Notre Dame, who was ranked after being 0-3. We had another firing as the head coach at Arkansas was fired. And hey, Jim, did you see who the new head coach at Arkansas is?
Yeah,
Bobby Petrino.
I mean, Spirit of Halloween is popping up everywhere. So apparently, here's our Retreads Anonymous showing up in college football again.
Well, Gus Malzahn's at fucking Auburn. And now Bobby Petrino's back at Arkansas. What are you kidding me? It was a very interesting day. And, hat's got to go off to Illinois after getting absolutely boat raced by Indiana last week. They come back and beat USC. Great win for Illinois. Texas was idle and they moved up a spot. Bama moved up 7 spots. That was a big win yesterday. Georgia's out of the top 5. I don't think Georgia gets back in the top 5. Their schedule the rest of the way is garbage. Georgia Tech loses a spot, but they won yesterday, which I thought was stupid. Hey, dude, your boys are up at 19. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, before the meat of our conference schedule comes in, this was our because of the way that we had scheduled and shifted around a little bit, so we beat up on UMass. So they kind of do that staggered schedule that I think like Vanderbilt also did, where they scheduled the conference game early in the year, get a meatball, and then actually, kind of like a tune-up at this point.
That same damn toy. No one's near it.
Your house is haunted.
I'm wondering if it's me. Speaking of which, I actually appreciate your response and his response to my text on Friday night. So, Alex, I go out with my mom to Five Guys up the street here. It's the first time I've been to Five Guys in a year. And as a matter of fact, that was the last time. That was when Mike came back to Cleveland last year. And I texted him. I said, so the table that we sat at, there's little kids sitting at there. Can I go eat them like I tried to eat Bobby last time? And he sends a text back and he says, Bobby laughed and then said no.
I meant to tell you, Jim, he's got to go to the dermatologist for that thing. It's back. So he had a thing on his face. You thought it was a skin tag, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Side of the skin. He decided at school one Friday to rip it off.
Whoa.
They polarized it. Silver nitrate scab, for lack of a better term, popped off. Looked exactly the same.
Interesting. Wow.
Mike, if it's coming back, that means the call's coming from inside the house.
Yes. So the 7th, we have to go and see the dermatologist, and I'm gonna have to hold him down.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a drink that night. But as far as college football going into next week, we have a couple of big games, a couple of games that should be big that are going to be trash. BYU has West Virginia on Friday night, the 3rd. Happy birthday to Ollie, Owen, my sister too. Yes, my cat and my sister are the same birthday. Not planned, but still hilarious. The number 1 team in the country is going to stop PJ Fleck from rowing the boat on Saturday night, as Minnesota is at Ohio State. Georgia hosts Kentucky on Saturday. Iowa State, Cincinnati. Team up north gets the Fickle crew in the big house. Illinois, Purdue, Penn State at UCLA. So they've got to make the trip for a 3:30 start. Jim, here's one you'll be looking at, 3:30 from the
Swamp. Do I sign back up for FanDuel and bet minus 45 against the genius in Gainesville?
I think they win that game.
Who? Florida?
Yep.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
How well did Arch play in a hostile environment in week 1?
He scuffled.
You do realize this is against a Billy Napier team where DJ Lagway has thrown more interceptions than Joe Flacco in the last few weeks.
How good the other Mannings do in the swamp?
Did I stutter?
You're a dick. Look out for Alabama to be an upset alert. They got Vandy, who Vanderbilt's 5-0. That's in Tuscaloosa. Notre Dame will host Boise. Virginia's at Louisville after their big win. Oklahoma, hey, they get a week off. They're playing Can't Read, Can't Write, Kent State. Texas Tech at Houston. You got the fight for Florida, Miami, and Florida State. That's going to be a good one in Tallahassee. And then Mississippi State and Texas A&M wrap out the big games of next week. Oregon, I think, has a bye. Jim, I got to ask you seriously, with that game, so you didn't watch anything. Drew Aller threw an interception in that game. Again, color me shocked. But, by the way, Penn State is 0-6 in their last 6 whiteout games.
Which is funny because they wore their blue jerseys last night, I read.
Well, the whiteout is at home and the fans are whited.
I get that, but wouldn't you actually want to actually keep, I saw somebody on Threads say it's a whiteout game, but they're wearing their dark jerseys. So.
Yeah, they wear the home jerseys, which again, a lot of people have moved Drew Aller off their draft boards. Almost like we knew it was going to happen.
I think if Miami goes out into Tallahassee and wins convincingly, I think they're going to steal quite a few first place votes, not from Oregon, but from the Buckeyes, because the Buckeyes have gone out and played a bunch of cupcakes where Miami, this would actually be their 4th top 10 opponent this year.
Well, first of all, let's power down. They went out and dominated the number 1 team in the country in week 1. Yeah, they played their 2 next games. I'll give you that.
Dominated.
Yeah.
Dominated.
Yeah.
14-7. Against a quarterback who's falling faster than Shadur Sanders.
I don't know if that's possible, but I'll take it. Their defense hasn't given up more than 9 points. Do you know Washington
overrated state?
Do you know
who have you played?
Texas and Washington. Do you know what Washington's numbers
That's
were going
adorable.
Do you know what Washington's offensive numbers were going into yesterday?
Breaking news: Mike is doing the show drunk, and his glasses are more rose-colored than what's on my wall, ladies and gentlemen.
Washington was averaging 556 yards a game and 55 points. They barely got over 200, and they scored 6. You're laughing. Dude, this is a team that lost 16 starters, dude. Jesus Christ.
Washington's 3 wins were against Colorado State, UC Davis, and Washington State.
Okay. Hey, you're back.
I don't know what happened right there.
That's like the cat. That's basically the Cavs going out and blowing out Sacramento, Detroit, Sacramento, Washington, and Charlotte, and actually saying that they're a top 5 defense in the NBA.
Fair. But if that was a different team, you would have never gone that hard.
Mike, that's getting held back a year and then actually taking credit when you got the highest grade in the class.
I would have tried to pull something like that off. So next week is going to be big. We're getting into the teeth of conference schedules. I mean, I think the next big game is November 1st, and that's Ohio State when they host Penn State in the Horseshoe. And after yesterday's thing, Jim, I don't think they're losing that game now. I honestly did think they were going to lose it. I don't think they're losing it now. Last but certainly not least with college football, is Billy the next coach to get fired, dude?
Should have been the first, but whatever.
Oh my God. He hates
Alex,
Billy.
is there room on the Azerbaijan's staff for a soon to be former college football coach anywhere?
It sounds like a small country, but there's a lot of land. There's room.
That's great.
Alex gets it.
Way to level up, my friend. Jim, you want to go to the Ryder Cup next? We'll leave the NFL for last.
Yeah. There ain't much to talk about here. Even though a furious rally today by the United States, Europe retains the Ryder Cup after going in with an almost historic lead, dominating the Friday and Saturday four balls and the solo matchups. We have to kind of bring up the elephant in the room of just how hostile and borderline unprofessional and ridiculous the crowd at Bethpage was. I expected a lot better.
I didn't. They're on fucking Long Island.
After who we saw walking with them, I couldn't have been the only one that might have actually been cheering a little bit for Team Europe.
I can't believe it's been 26 years since they pulled off what they tried to pull off today. With that furious comeback on Sunday in '99 at Brookline.
Did you hear the after round comments by Shane Lowry today?
I did not.
He was asked by a Sky reporter after they had clinched and won and retained the Ryder Cup, because the Ryder Cup in 2 years will be in Ireland, and it's basically going to be, on home turf for Shane Lowry from Ireland. And he says, it'll be certainly a lot better than playing here this week.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Now, save all you want for what happened in '99 with the way the crowd and the players ran on that green. And it was definitely, but that was an emotional thing. The fans were assholes this week. I mean, this isn't actually Happy Gilmore. I don't know if the people on Long Island fucking know that.
The telltale sign was what happened with Rory, where he hits a great shot, and then he basically is walking at the crowd. Literally, there is video footage of him on social media pointing at the crowd going, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
Good for Rory. Good for Rory. I don't know what it is about the Ryder Cup and these big tournaments that bring out really good fans at times. 100%. I think we can all agree on that. There have been some great tournaments where we've had phenomenal fans, and then you get the real fucking pricks.
I didn't watch much of it, but I think you guys both can probably attest to this statement. The fans at the Western Open in Phoenix, that shit show, the Waste Management Tournament, they were better behaved than the crowd at Bethpage this weekend.
Again, Long Island. It is the dumping ground.
So while we got them for a couple more minutes, let's actually get to the guys who actually get paid and it's legitimate.
Jesus Christ. You're a very angry human. You know that?
I am quickly supplanting Aaron Goldhammer as the little ball of hate in Cleveland sports.
Yeah, well, you should be the little ball of hate. Goldhammer needs to go to fuck back to fucking Denver.
So running down the scores real quick here. Steelers over the Vikings 24-21. As we all were waking up this morning in Dublin, Carson Wentz 30 of 46, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Vikings. And the Vikings will stay in Dublin and host the Cleveland Browns next week.
Very nice.
Actually, they will stay overseas and they will play in Tottenham Stadium next week in London.
So they'll go 1-1 in Europe.
The Atlanta Falcons even their record at 2-2 with a 34-27 win over the Commanders. Michael Penix, 20 of 26, 313 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 17 carries, 75 yards and a touchdown. Drake London, 8 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown. The Commanders fall to 2-2.
I see they let Bijan run the ball a little bit.
The New England Patriots, we've been saying, as much as we talk about Daniel Jones, we have to also keep the respect on Drake May. Only 14 of 17, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the Patriots hold serve. And yes, granted, it was the Carolina Panthers, but a 42-13 win. The Patriots are 2-2.
Dude, that's a great game from Drake May. Get to the real good one. I want to hear what Alex got to say about that one.
The New York Giants make the change, go to Jackson Dart and get their first win of the year, even though Justin Herbert goes 23 of 41 for 203 yards and a touchdown. And Ontario Hampton, 12 catches, 12 carries, 128 yards and a touchdown. The Giants upset the Chargers 21-18 at MetLife today.
And lose Malik Neighbors
for the year, unfortunately. The Eagles now move to 4-0, even though Baker Mayfield 22 of 40, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the Eagles come away with a 31-25 win in a game that they pretty much dominated and kind of had to hold on a little bit late.
Yeah, Baker went off in the second half. 72-yard touchdown to Emeka Ibuka and a 78-yard touchdown, I think, to the running back.
Bucky Irving.
I mean,
Irving, 15 carries, 63 yards, 5 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown today.
Yeah, so this is, I believe, going to be the 1-2 punch in the NFC. Baker played very well. Did he turn the ball over? I don't think he did.
Not from what I see. It doesn't list that he had an interception.
No, and if you take the block punt off the board, they win.
Last week, we had our first shutout of the year. This year, we have our second. The Texans hold serve and finally get into the win column on the strength of 20 fourth-quarter points and shut out the Tennessee Titans 26-0. C.J. Stroud, 22 of 28, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins, 4 catches, 79 yards.
My God, Tennessee's terrible.
Jacksonville, San Francisco gets Brock Purdy back, 22 of 39, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Etienne for the Jaguars, 19 carries, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, 6 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. But it's the Jaguars coming away with a 26-21 win in San Francisco. Both teams are 3-1.
That's surprising about the Jags. Not so much. Well, San Francisco without Nick Bosa is going to be a tough defense to kind of read because you lose your big pass rusher. But still, Jacksonville winning that game, especially in Levi's, that's a nice win.
The two didn't see this one coming games of the week. The Buffalo Bills get 16 of 22 for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns out of Josh Allen, 117 yards and a touchdown out of James Cook, and wipe up on the New Orleans Saints 31-19 in a game that really wasn't that close for the majority of it.
Are they going to lose every game?
If it wasn't for the Tennessee Titans, the New Orleans Saints would probably be the worst team in football, I'd argue.
I think they are.
Hot on their heels, after going down and scoring a touchdown on their opening possession of the game, the Cleveland Browns lose 34-10 in Detroit to the Lions. Joe Flacco, 16 of 34, 184 yards, 2 interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Amon St. Ra, 7 catches, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Lions are 3-1. The Browns are 1-3 and headed overseas.
They should stay.
Gentlemen,
Overseas?
could this have been the last game that Joe Flacco will start? Do they make the switch to Dylan Gabriel in time for that London game next week?
I watched a good majority of that game, and God, Joe Flacco looked terrible.
I put it out there on
Terrible.
I put it out there on social media on Facebook. I want to say when the Browns plastered the image on after the final. Thank you, Joe Flacco, for everything that you did in 2023 for the Browns, but he looks 60 years every bit of his 40-year-old age. He's got to be sad. You have to see what you have with these kids.
Yeah, it was kind of almost bittersweet because I've always been a fan of Flacco. I think he's a very talented quarterback, but there were plays out there that he just looked like deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Post play, and it's like, yeah, I think it's time to say goodbye, my friend, or at least take a back seat for the time being.
And last one before we get to the one that we really want to talk about. The Rams get 375 yards and 3 touchdowns out of Matthew Stafford and 77 yards on the ground from Kyer Williams. Puka Nacua, 13 catches, 170 yards. You would think the Rams would have run away with this game, but no, have to rally for a 27-20 win over the Colts, handing the Colts their first loss of the season.
Seriously, did Puka Nacua get a Cooper Cup transplant?
Daniel Jones in the loss, 24 of 33 for 262 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, 76 yards on the ground.
So we turn back into Danny Dimes. But listen, everybody's got bad games, and he's played really well, so we can lay off him for another 5 minutes.
On Thursday night, Seattle comes away with a 23-20 win at Arizona. Sam Darnold, 18 of 26, 242 yards and a touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 4 catches, 79 yards. The Seahawks are 3-1.
And they played the tortillas. Alex, have you seen the Arizona uniforms?
I did the spackle in them.
They look like tortillas.
Yeah, they do.
We'll go to Moe's. Currently at the half, the Cowboys, surprisingly enough, up 16-13 on the Packers. Jordan Love already 172 yards and 2 touchdowns, looking to atone for that underwhelming performance in the loss to Cleveland last week. And I don't know if we really want to call this a surprise. Certainly we expected the result, but not to this level. The Kansas City Chiefs go out and lay 37 points on the Ravens today in a 37-20 win. Patrick Mahomes, 25 of 37, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy, 5 catches, 83 yards.
And Lamar's got a hammy.
And Lamar's got a hamstring injury. And Derrick Henry, again, largely ineffective. 8 carries, only 42 yards against the Kansas City team that can be run on.
Agreed. When I saw Patrick Mahomes' line and that they won, do you know what I heard in my head? Happy learned how to putt.
Uh-oh. Yep.
Yeah. If I can just go back to last week and the absolute egg that I know Alex was excited that the Green Bay Packers laid against the Browns. Did you see the clip when Miles got the free rush off the edge? What happened?
I missed that.
Jordan Love's left tackle. Miles goes right around him. He yells, "Jordan, run."
As he's chasing him.
Miles is talking about it. He goes, "I got a free release on that last one." And he yelled, "Jordan, run." If you listen to the audio, you hear him say it.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty courteous.
I mean, first of all, and it's Miles. It's Miles.
And arguably the best game of the day was the most back and forth game of the day. The Chicago Bears come away with a 25-24 last-minute win over the Las Vegas Raiders. Caleb Williams, 22 of 37, 212 yards and a touchdown. Ashton Genty erupts for 138 yards and a touchdown for the Raiders. Romo Dunze, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. The Bears are 2-2. And let's also call this what it is. If the Packers lose tonight, the Bears will be in second place, albeit tied behind the Lions.
Alex, is there much more you can ask for this early in the season?
You know what? A dub is a dub. Like I said when I first jumped on, bowling shoe ugly, but a W is a W. So I will take it and go into the bye and sleep well for probably the next 2 weeks.
That's always a good thing.
And then when they come out of the bye, they play their I guess the pitfall game last year against Washington and Jaden Daniels. If you guys remember that beloved play where one of my defenders was in Nebraska and the game was in Washington. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll take the dub, and we'll go from there. We're just taking it week by week, but I'm trying to build a case to see if maybe they can be Azerbaijan adjacent. We'll see.
Alex, first of all, the Bears have a very favorable schedule after that they will host the Saints. They will go to Baltimore, who suddenly is reeling. And then at Cincinnati, which we can't expect too much out of them, home to the Giants, and then at the Vikings, which will basically kind of take us into Thanksgiving. There's definitely some winnable games here.
Would you rattle off right now? Is that 4 games, 5 games?
5 games, yeah. So you're at Washington, home to the Saints, at the Ravens, at the Bengals, home to the Giants, and then at the Vikings. I mean, out of those next 6, I could definitely see you guys maybe pulling out 4 of them and going 6-2.
I would love to see them go 6-2. That would be wondrous. I mean, one of the ones on the road, it could get ugly. It could get, last minute field goal kind of situation. Hopefully not a Hail Mary situation like we've seen last year, but with the Bengals without Burrow, probably the Ravens without Lamar, and them kind of looking a little bit inept, offensively and defensively. Giants kind of being, I guess, a mystery, not really, knowing what to expect from them. And the Vikings also kind of being a little bit of a mystery, laying an egg over there in Ireland today. I think there's definitely winnable games. So it's just a matter of kind of, I guess, Ben Johnson and co finding some glue to kind of put the team together to put them on the right track and hopefully, be in good standing. Because at first, prior to the season starting or, right at week 1, you think, oh, Baltimore, you think Cincinnati, you think Minnesota after losing game 1. They kind of look like some ugly games, probably some losses, but I think you got to feel somewhat good of the spot that they're in right now. But I'm of the mindset, I will not count my eggs before they hatch because I know how that works.
Last question before we have to let you go here, because I know you actually got to catch a flight early. What does your defense look like? What's the tune there? Just because when you look down your offense right now, you've got Caleb at quarterback. You've got DeAndre Swift as your running back. So you're set there. You draft Colston Loveland. You've got Odunze from last year, and then you got Luther Burden this year. So a lot of your de facto skill position guys, you're basically set for the next, hopefully, 4 to 6 years. What's the offensive line situation look like? What's the defense looking like in the Windy City right now?
So right now, your offense.
And I'm sorry, I want to actually break that down into 2 parts. What's your outlook, and what are they saying in the media there?
So my outlook, the offensive in terms of weapons, you got some good weapons. I think your running back room could get a little bit better. DeAndre Swift, I know he's a veteran, but I would love to see a much more of an elite back, whether it's by trade or draft. Your offensive line has gotten better. There's some youth in there, but then you also have Joe Thuney that they took away from the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got Drew Dahlman, who was with the Atlanta Falcons. So there is some veteran presence on there, but there also is some youth. They could probably, bolster that just a little bit more to kind of keep Caleb upright. Not that he's gotten sacked a ton of times, but the pressure has kind of been in abundance just because it's a little bit hodgepodge in a sense. I would think that the defense, in a sense, needs to be bolstered, but also needs to get healthy. They lost Jalen Johnson, one of their highest paid players, earlier this year to a torn hamstring. So there's a possibility he comes back this year, but on IR, probably out the next, I would say, 8 to 10 weeks at least. Aside from that, they got a couple other guys who haven't even played this year because of hamstring injuries as well too. So there's a little bit of, I guess, a similar tune. They're holding it together, but I mean, as you've seen today, Genty had his breakout game, his welcome to the NFL game, and had 3 tutties today. So there are moments where when they played last week against the Cowboys where they look like world beaters, but then this week didn't look exactly the same. So I think there's a little bit of health, but there's also pieces that are needed, whether it's through a draft or through trade or through free agency, to kind of really, I guess, firm up the offensive line, but also some defensive line presence as well too. Because overall they've really struggled on their D line, getting pressure on quarterbacks. 2 out of the 4 weeks this year, the offensive player of the week has been in the opposing quarterback that we've played against. So, not ideal. One of which being JJ McCarthy, who is now on the shelf. So,
what do you do now?
Huh?
What do you do now?
He injured his ankle, and I guess Kevin O'Connell immediately put him on the IR, or benched him in a sense, and let Carson Wentz start. So I don't know if he's seen something he didn't like, if he's actually legitimately got a significant ankle injury. Not 100% sure what it is, but after seeing what they did this past week or I should say today in London, I'm not really convinced that they're I guess a competitive team in the division. Not to say that they're not a quality team, but I think they're definitely beatable. And knowing that they lost that first game here at home in the fourth quarter is quite unsettling after seeing what kind of what Pittsburgh did to them today. So, all in a nutshell, there's some significant positives, but there's also some holes that need to be plugged up, whether it be during the season, if things kind of go on the right track over the next 6, if it's in the offseason, if it's through the draft, but on the right side, I guess, of the tracks.
And the report is that McCarthy's ankle could sideline him 2 to 4 weeks with this, just depending on how much they want to rest him. So if I'm Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, the head coach, I have to think about maybe going to Dylan Gabriel, just because you may be able to put some points up on a neutral field on turf in Tottenham next week, knowing that you're going up against Carson Wentz instead of the proposed, future of the franchise and McCarthy. So they're in flux. This might be a game, if you're the Browns, that you can get next week. And certainly would actually, Chicago would be paying attention to this one as well, to be able to see, for their entertainment for the bye week, what would they rather do? Would they rather actually be, playing and possibly losing, or would they rather sit back and watch Minnesota take it on the chin to a team that they should be beating by 20?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I was going to say the sheer fact that it's Carson Wentz and not JJ is going to help the Browns a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'll take that back. I think it's going to hurt the Browns a little bit. Carson's a little more mobile than JJ is. I think they would have had more free shots at him. So I still think Minnesota wins this game, and the Browns do have to go to Dylan Gabriel. The only thing I worry about is his stature. We were calling him and Kyler Murray the Mario and Luigi of the NFL a few weeks ago. So
Yeah, but they're typically not that tall over there in across the pond, like we would be here with their professional athletes. So might be able to fit right in.
he can't be the size of Cristiano Ronaldo and play quarterback in the NFL.
Watch him go out next week and do just that.
possible.
In football?
I mean, keep in mind how well the Browns travel. I mean, you're going to have a ton of Browns fans in Tottenham next week, and they're going to be vocal enough to be able to pull the string.
Oh, I'm sure they will be. I'm 100% positive they will be. Uh, we'll see. I think the other thing with McCarthy, is it just me or does Minnesota have some O-line problems?
I think they do have
No.
have some O-line problems as well too.
So, yeah, that's not going to help JJ.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but everyone outside of Detroit in that division's got some O-line problems right now.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Green Bay is giving up a lot of pressures this, already this year.
Yeah, and not for nothing. And again, not trying to play scapegoat or devil's advocate for Alex's least favorite team. They play better defenses than some of the other teams in that division, even some better than some of the ones that Detroit has played. How much pressure they get on Goff today? I'll say not much.
Did it matter? Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered even if they did. But anytime you see that Browns defense, which by the way is elite, you're going to have pressure issues. So let's see how they turn it around from here. I hope JJ's not out the rest as long as they say, but
Dylan Gabriel did get in and throw one pass today. It was an incompletion. I'm not sure when in the game it was. If Flacco got knocked out for a play, they did not. The Browns did not register a sack today.
it's interesting.
Really quickly before I got a bounce, they brought in Dylan Gabriel in garbage time. There was like 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, so didn't mean much. It was just kind of a formality. They were kind of waving a white flag officially, I guess you can say.
And Mike, your boy Judkins, 82 yards today and a touchdown. So quickly establishing himself as the number 1 back in Cleveland.
Going back to college, I love the fact that it's a Cleveland kid out of Villa Angela St. Joseph that is becoming the premier back at Ohio State. Lamar Bo Jackson. I just think it's cool they call him Bo. Just me.
Very nice.
Alex, we want to thank you very much again for tonight. Go get yourself some rest. Go grab your flight, and we will catch up here before too long. Certainly, we'll catch up with you before really the end of the playoffs. We hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down to stay in touch. I'll definitely keep tabs on how the baseball playoffs unfold, and we'll circulate some tweets, some texts, whatever it may be, and kind of just stay in the loop of things to kind of see upsets or whatever it may be.
Well, once the college football season is over, since John is refereeing and of course his NFL obligations on Sunday, we're going to get another Horseman episode together.
I love it.
And I'm gonna have an official. We've got our Horseman intro and everything, so it's so I got some other things kind of in the pipe, for some of those special episodes, and I'll keep you guys abreast of that when that comes around.
Sounds good.
Go
You
get
guys
some
take
rest.
care.
Go get some rest. Have a safe flight tomorrow.
Yeah, safe
Thanks,
trip.
guys. Take care. Have a good night.
See you.
Alex
See you, bud.
Ruiz, everybody.
It's always fun when he's here.
Yeah.
But now that we've said goodbye to Alex, the blast was very good, Jim. I think it was very quick. It was well done. As is always our preview episodes, the first half takes for fucking ever. There's really only one thing left to do, James.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the dulcet tones of Yakety Sax can only mean one thing and one thing only, and that is the time for the YZ Translator has come. And of course, is the moment when James and I give each other names inside or outside of the sports world, and we talk about the first thing that comes to mind. Now, sometimes it's off the wall funny, sometimes it's dirty, and sometimes it's actually insightful. Not that happens much, but you know us. As per usual, the YZ Chronicle, which our most recent supercut is up on the YouTube page that James has cut together. with some real classics in it, like the fact that the Four Horsemen episodes took their leave from the handbook that is Grumpy Old Men. Still my favorite to this day. But as is normal, James, if you would please, this evening's Chronicle, sir.
This may actually work a little bit for me considering how much I pigged out in the last 2 days, but I didn't have to do laundry this weekend because I was home working. So if ever there was a silver lining,
There was a point in my life when Febreze was my best friend. That's all my. So, as has become tradition, it is incumbent upon me to give James a first name in the translator. And Jim, I'm going to go back to baseball with this. And it's going to be one that pulls at the heartstrings. James, your first name in tonight's Wisey translator is the newly retired Clayton Kershaw.
the best of our generation, without a doubt, they don't win a couple of World Series, in the last decade, really here without him. They don't have nearly that run of success. Um, we're thinking that Tarek Skubal and uh, and Freddie Peralta and Sanchez in Philadelphia and Paul Skeens. We're hopeful that these guys can kind of be the next decade's version of what Clayton Kershaw was. Great to actually see him kind of get the start over the weekend here against Seattle and right off into the sunset and everything. You know, it's a shame that he's not going to be part of the postseason rosters for the Dodgers and everything. Although I really don't think that they need him, even though he's been, still very good. But when the fact that your postseason rosters do not expand, they actually kind of contract a couple of players from the end of the regular season. It's the move that has to be done, but it's something that we've actually seen with guys retiring. That make that last run to the playoff where their team makes the last run to the playoffs, and unfortunately, there's just not a spot open.
Yeah, I think you'll see him for the LDS. I think he was left off mostly because he pitched, was it last night?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was mostly left off because he's not going to pitch in this series with the way they've been helping him. He'll be in there for the LDS. May even start, depending on how quickly they dispatch the Reds, may even start a game one, depending on where it lands in that.
Could you maybe see them going a little kind of Kurt Schilling with him and using him for to extend the bully? Maybe kind of
Yes,
like long relief at that point?
Yeah, especially if they end up pulling the Phillies. Because the Phillies' big bats, two of them are left-handed. And neither of them can hit a curveball. So there's that.
Just like Serrano.
Speaking of, by the way, the other person with the 50 bombs was Schwarber.
Mike, your first name in the YZ translator tonight, he's still having a very good year, but we actually don't think about that just because of how underperforming he's been the last few weeks, especially when we're looking at Brand's fantasy bus. We talked about him a few minutes ago, and I'd like to get your take on him on the whole, especially after the disappointment of this weekend. That's going to be Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry's performance is an indictment of Lamar Jackson. To this day, no one fears his arm. The Browns had 9 in the box a lot. It seemed like when they played them and got killed by him, but he did nothing. This is basically Lamar has played like shit to start the year, so they can take away Derrick Henry. He's not slowing down. We saw week 1 against the Bills. He was phenomenal.
169 yards and 2 touchdowns, but ever since, 23 yards against the Browns, no touchdowns. 50 yards against the Lions, and 1 touchdown. 42 yards and really nothing today, even though he had 5.3 yards a carry. He's currently ranked his 284 yards running are fifth in the NFL right now. His 3 touchdowns are tied for third. But again, we're only through 4 weeks, and the Ravens are 1-3.
Yeah, no,
And that
this is
one win was the Browns.
Yeah, this is on Lamar. Lamar is not throwing the ball well, and you can't execute the read option they want to do, nor can you execute the play action if Lamar's not throwing the ball well. And the only game he threw the ball well was against the fucking Browns. Sorry, dude, you're out of luck. James, your second and final name tonight in the Wisely Translator. We are going to go to the world of hockey, and your name tonight was the first star in his final game last night, Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yes, it was confirmed that that was his last game because fans are chanting in the arena one more year, and Fleury promptly shut those down and says, "I don't have another year left in me. My hip hurts." Um, and if that was indeed a practical joke and a troll, you're going to see some teams making some calls to him, and I would like to see that he kind of takes the high road and just politely turns them away and doesn't try to hang around like a James Reimer who just re-signed for a second go in Toronto for 1 year and really has not been nearly what he has been. Um, Fleury with that big fanfare and that farewell tour last year with Minnesota, it's just time. You have the one game, you sell out with Pittsburgh, you have a lot of the first line guys like your Crosbys and your Malkins there, last night, tuning up for the regular season, which starts, not next week, but actually now since we're on Sunday, the regular season will start next week. Um, he'll definitely be in the arena, but he'll be in the seats as they'll do some sort of retirement ceremony, and then they'll probably retire his jersey. I don't want to say maybe this year, but maybe sometime next year. Um, Still the greatest prankster in professional hockey that I've ever seen, and a first ballot Hall of Famer, no question. And what a great way to go out last night. And I do actually like the shade that the one Columbus player said that he was able to score the goal, even though the kid's not going to make the 20-man roster for opening night for Columbus. He'll probably end up getting sent down to Cleveland. Um, and said that I'm glad that I just broke up the shutout.
As I kicked the camera, sorry. But yeah, the numbers on the car. I mean, Jesus Christ. That was wonderful.
How does he find time to do all this? Without these guys knowing.
He's got staff. He's the mastermind. He's got minions.
They showed some woman that was in the crowd last night, and it was so cool that she had and she put a lot of money into this too, but she took all 4 of the jerseys that he wore. So that would be Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Vegas, and Chicago, and she basically kind of quartered the jerseys, and it was basically like the timeline of his jersey. So it was like a corner of Pittsburgh, like the first quarter, and then like Minnesota, and then Chicago, and then basically had his Pittsburgh block numbers on the back. I mean, that was to be able to pull that off. That's like a $700-800 project, even if you're just doing the replica jerseys. But it just shows you just how much he meant not only to the people in Pittsburgh, but really all around the hockey world. Because you say that there's good guys in the league, and typically goaltenders. For every Jordan Bennington, unfortunately, sorry to say, as a Blues fan who's a knucklehead, you get a guy like Fleury that basically makes it all worth the while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm obviously not as well versed in Fleury as you are, but watching the stats, watching the love pour out of Pittsburgh last night, and watching his kids just get down on the jumbotron was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. What do you got?
Michael, I'm going to wrap this up. I kind of wish Alex was still here and I could have given him this name, but as a baseball fan, you'd recognize this name as well. And he also announced, while we're talking about guys walking away, he announced today that he's walking away after 12 Major League Baseball seasons. Naturally, the last couple have not kind of gone the way that he's wanted to, but still actually put up very respectable numbers over the years, and that would be Chicago White Sox outfielder Michael Taylor.
I remember when he came up with the Nationals, and he was a problem. Very good defender, adequate with the bat, but he stuck around for his glove. He was a Gold Glove caliber center fielder for many, many years. I believe he was a center fielder on that championship team with the Nationals too.
Yes, he was.
So, the defensive specialist has gone away in the last few years. He's one of the last ones that they had that were defensive specialists that weren't infielders. You don't see too many defensive specialists in the outfield anymore. You see the guy who can go get it is in center, and you put your two big bats in right and left. But great career, good player, won a ring. I mean, I don't know how much more you can ask for. Over a decade in the big leagues, and you won a ring. That's amazing.
Yep, 1,215 games played, only 806 hits, 109 home runs. Again, spent the first 7 seasons of his career with the Nationals. Spent the next 2 with Kansas City, and then each of the last 3 years, 1 with Minnesota, 1 with Pittsburgh, and then wrapped up with Chicago this year. Hit only 200 with 9 home runs and 35 RBIs. Granted, Chicago this year, Pittsburgh last year. I mean, how much offensive output can you have? But yeah, it's a lot of people are going to remember just how strong of a defender that he was in the Nationals organization, especially during that run up to the title in 2019. And they really kind of don't get nearly that far and make that run over the postseason in 16, 17, and 19. That 4-year window without really his defensive ability. Because remember, even though that they went out in the first round in 2017, or at least their opening series in 5 games, he had 2 home runs and 8 RBIs in that 2017 playoffs.
No, he was really good in 17. Yeah, I mean, great career, dude. Great career. So we missed something last week. So last week, September the 21st, it was 24 years since what many people have called the biggest home run they've ever seen. That Piazza won after 9/11, 10 days after the tragedies. He hits that home run off of Queens native Steve Carsey into the 3rd level of the camera deck at Shea Stadium to dead center. Of course, Howie Rose with this one has a chance, and the ball was hit 430 feet. Howie was on the road this week. Speaking of Howie, we talked about Hammy a little bit, and of course I have saved in here him saying this line that blows my mind with as much as people don't talk about it. He said after the hit by pitch on Saturday night, and for the 8th time in the last 14 years, Cleveland, you will have an October to remember. This is why I get pissed at the city, dude.
I mean,
this is why I get pissed at the city.
Can we talk that, they go out and they lose, that they have a chance to basically wrap just about everything up, albeit mathematically on Friday night. They go out and they lay the goose egg to Texas. They're trailing. They win on a hit by pitch on Saturday, and then already have the division clinched. And Rowdy Tellez hits a 3-run homer that I don't know if you saw the highlight. He stopped running when he got to first base because I don't know what he was thinking, that it was foul, even though it got into the 3rd row of seats. He basically came to a complete stop and then started jogging around, the bases. He kind of reminded me of the catcher at the end of Moneyball, who thought that he was actually going to go for a double and ended up putting it 40 feet into, 40 rows deep. Um,
Yes.
and then, the Guardians really at that point have, they get one and you figure, okay, they won the division, no huge deal. And then Brian Rocchio hits that 3-run jack off the foul pole that if the pole wasn't there, would have been about 3 rows deep in the second deck.
Yeah, that was a bomb.
I mean, could it be any more Guardians than winning on a hit by pitch and then a walk off 3-run home run off a foul pole to close out your regular season?
No, that's exactly what should have happened. Jesus. But listen, I am excited for another October to remember for the city of Cleveland. I also believe October will kick off a Cavalier season that we won't forget either. But we will see you guys, speaking of the Cavaliers, next Sunday on the 5th of October for the, again, 4th annual Wise Guys NBA preview. As we will talk about the rash of injuries that have really reshaped the Eastern Conference this year. We'll get hopefully have a little more information on the whole Kawhi thing. And we will make predictions and we will run through the entire league in the first half of the show. And then, of course, we'll be, talking about a little NFL, a little college football, and obviously the first round, the wild card round, the beginning of the divisional round in Major League Baseball. Good show, sir. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Great show as well.
And I'll probably talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, it's and I'll just, leave everybody with some dulcet tones, but that movie, that scene is 35 years old, and I still can't stop laughing every time he actually turns his head around to the camera when he's doing it.
Again, lunatic fan, yes. Blind as a bat, no. We saw this coming the last 2 months.
I wasn't even taking a shot at your voice. I just wanted an excuse to play the soundbite because I don't know when I'm going to be able to use it again.
We can use it every week if we want to. It's our show.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.